Hello. Now, if you are a person that was born in the 80s and raised in the 90s, then you understand how important the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was to the culture, to our generation. So in this video, we're gonna talk about the Fresh Prince or Bel-Air, the differences. Spoiler alert, do not proceed unless you don't give a shit. Bel-Air did everything that was important and big from the original series, all the way down to the character. Now they changed some shit that wasn't too important to make a bigger statement and expand on a lot of personality traits from each person that was in The Fresh Prince. Now the Fresh Prince was a comedy that could have a little drama. Bel-Air was a drama that sprinkled on with some comedy. I wouldn't necessarily call it a dramedy because the shit was really dramatic. Kind of too dramatic sometimes. They made sure every member was chocolate skinned and a darker complexion. Ashley was a little fair skinned, but I feel like this was a conscious decision, and rightfully so. And I think it was to change the narrative for anyone watching the show who wasn't black, to see a different form that they may not have witnessed from black excellence transform to black cess. Bel-Air addresses and attacks a lot of black issues within our community and against us, just like the original show. Except these issues were more updated and expanded on because the shows were like an hour, nigga. They didn't have 22 minutes in commercials, you know what I'm saying? Like they had time. But what made it different from me in this show necessarily was the characters, the similarities, and the differences. Every character I refer to will be from the TV show Bel-Air, but I will show some of my favorite clips from Fresh Prince. Let's start with Uncle Phil, played by Adrian Holmes. Now, Uncle Phil was still passionate about making changes through the judicial system, still the head of the household and leader of the pack. Except this time, they tweaked a little bit of shit. And I'ma just say that they focused on the priority of health, but they made Uncle Phil a good-looking brother who's in shape and happened to be a dope-ass stepper.
Hey, Kool-Aid!
It wasn't no heart attacks, fat jokes, or receding hairlines with this dude. Now, while Uncle Phil was still fixated on having more for his family than he did growing up, he eventually got enlightened from an unlikely source by realizing that less is more. It's not about where you are or what you got, but who you with and what's your purpose. What he brought to the show was the struggle of juggling being a part of the law while breaking it, more so bending it, for his family, while dealing with the ups and downs of being a father to a young adult, a teenager, and a preteen. And now, a whole ass nephew that's all of that rolled into one. And dealing with temptations, because marriage is tough. Next, Aunt Viv, played by Cassandra Freed. Now, even though Aunt Viv was a well-known character in The Fresh Prince, they gave her more meaning and representation in Bel-Air. Instead of having one episode where they explored her creativity to see if she still had it, Bel-Air went in depth and enhanced her outlook throughout the whole series. Now they tweaked a little bit of shit too, because in this one, Aunt Viv is not a dancer. She's a painter. And in The Fresh Prince, her character was a person that was led to be successful, but put the passion behind her to focus on being a wife and a mother more so. What she brought to Bel-Air was a struggle of being an artist as a mother and a wife, to see her fight and claw to keep her creativity, which I feel like all artists can relate with no matter what their position is in life. Not only did she leave her career behind in Bel-Air, but she created a way of ownership through her own artistry by investing into what made her feel whole and alive. And I ain't gonna front, if you watched it, Cassandra embodied Aunt Viv so much, it was to the point where she sounded like Janet Hubert sometimes. Tell me I ain't tripping. And the star of the show, Will, played by Jabari Banks. In this rendition, I believe Will's character was an example of the difference between comedy and drama. In Bel-Air, Will didn't get into one little fight and his mom got scared. This shit was life or death and got real with police, arrest, and a blicky. Bel-Air kept all of his traits from The Fresh Prince, more than any other character, because we had to see Will Smith in some kind of way as the main character. But this time, he focused on a different aspiration while using basketball as a tool instead of his only skill set. He also wasn't a womanizer like he was in the main series, which is, you know, subjective. But he was more of a steady guy in this one.
Hold up, baby. See, now, I noticed you noticing me. So I just want to put you on notice that I noticed you too. And to let you know that, you know, I might consider letting you be with me.
Is that what passes for a compliment around here?
Look, baby, listen.
No, you listen. If you want a shot at being with me, maybe you should try talking to me like a human being, okay? Got it?
Actually, baby, you got it, but I take donations.
To this show, he brought the struggle of an athlete doing something more than just sports for the rest of his life, and also using basketball as a platform to something more meaningful and longevity. It shows that players are more than athletes and how to use sports to your advantage for other possibilities. And of course, one of the most famous characters of all time, Carlton, played by Ali Shullerton. I hope that's how you pronounce it, I apologize. Still short, corny, wants to go to Princeton, but his drug episode expands into a series-long struggle. They made him athletic instead of a dancing guru. Brought the struggle of kids wanting to live up to their parents' standards with the pressure of maintaining their own self-identity and also a drug addiction to escape all of that. He struggled with being black like he did in the original series, but dove way more into the culture this time around. And I'm gonna be honest, out of all the younger actors, he was probably the best. Not that Jabari wasn't, it's just extremely hard to replicate the Fresh Prince. You know, it's kind of unfair. And Hillary Banks, played by the lovely and most beautiful voice sounding Coco Jones. Now, instead of being ditzy, blondish, and a daddy dependent, she was a tall, dark, and extremely resourceful entrepreneur. While she was still popular, instead of having a talk show, she was an influencer who knew how to cook, amongst other things. She brought a side of the struggle that comes with young black entrepreneurs in today's times, especially being an influencer, while struggling to figure out what love truly is. The little tweak they made with Hillary was through her fiance. Instead of having Trevor, she had LaMarcus. And instead of being a news reporter who had an accident, LaMarcus was an athlete who had physical complications. They both died.
Look, there he goes.
Hillary Banks!
Yes, Trevor!
Will you marry me?
And Lil Ashley, or Ashley Banks, played by Akira Akbar. And in this one, just like the Fresh Prince, we got to watch Ashley grow up once again. You see her from a preteen to a young lady, from leaving elementary and starting junior high to beginning high school. We get to see her dating as well, which I'm sure y'all remember that.
Man, back off me, man. I just want to have some fun.
Fun? Does this look like a place to have fun? I don't think so. Ain't gonna have no fun up in here. Not me, not you, not her.
And definitely not me. Goodbye, Will.
Whoa, baby, oh, come back here. What is her name?
What she brought to the show was dealing with sexuality and gender identity. Not necessarily through her, but who she was around and with. I'm sure it helped a lot of kids that go through this, or even the black community that has struggles with that today. Lisa, played by Simone Joy Jones. Now, Lisa's family plays a bigger role on Bel-Air more than the Fresh Prince because this is a drama. You also get to see the growth of a high school freshman teenager to becoming a young adult. You get to see the maturation through her looks of choices. And that growth is real if you have a daughter, niece, or a younger cousin. She brings the growth of a young teen to a young woman, but also dealing with the loss of a parent and having a step-parent right after that. Along with the struggle of loving someone so much, she surrounded her life around her boyfriend. She finally realized it was best to focus on herself completely as she became an adult.
Excuse me, Messy Snipes. Oh, no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Will, just let it go.
No, baby. He started this. Now I'm gonna finish it. Where did that come from?
Will, I've been meaning to tell you that I'm a
what? A Power Ranger?
Geoffrey, played by Jimmy Akingbola. I hope I said that right. Now, G ain't no service or butler in this show, and he for sure ain't no bitch. He kinda on his Pennyworth shit. Except, he's Phil's right-hand man on everything outside of the house. Remember, this is black excellence. So G was a nigga from the streets of London, and he was a G-14 classified trained assassin. What his character brought to the show was the struggle of a man trying to leave the streets and keep the family he chooses to stay together, the household and his own.
What do you think? Who's more desirable?
It's a tie. You both lose.
Jazz, played by Jordan L. Jones. Jazz didn't have all the characteristics from the Fresh Prince because he had more depth, but they kept a few things. He loved music, which I'm sure is a nod to DJ Jazzy Jeff.
The oboes will be coming next.
Still older than Will Smith, but this time he is a taxi driver that picked Will up from the airport. So that was explained a little more this time around. But most importantly, he wasn't getting thrown out the house. He was constantly invited. I just would have liked if they would have made a little space for that moment to happen throughout the whole series, but I get it. This boy was a full-bred entrepreneur and actually had a complicated relationship with Hillary, which is ironic from the Fresh Prince because if you remember anything about it, Hillary didn't fuck with him at all. But the fact that neither one of them was dumb in this show made it make sense. He's an adult. That is probably Will's best friend. That's not his relative. Instead of leading or adding to Will getting into some dumb shit, Jazz always has a good outlook to get him out of shit. Most of the time. He plays the role of the big homie instead of a loser. Jazz brings to the show the presentation on the struggle of owning a business and running it, showing what that does to your perspective and confidence, but adjusting to collaborate with others, all while repping for the Short Kings by getting himself a stallion. Vi, Will's mom, played by April Parker Jones. She's probably the exact same character as she was in the Fresh Prince. She brought the concern and battles of a single mom that utilized her village even though it scared her. At least she didn't sleep with Lisa's dad in this one.
Hey, Mom. I know it's late, but I really need to talk.
And Lou, Will's father, played by the timeless Marlon Wayans. Lou was a bigger role in Bel-Air, and I'm sure the staff behind the show was like, yo, we can't have another black father play a deadbeat dad willingly. And rightfully so. This Lou put in the effort to make himself more resourceful, valuable, and resilient to his dreams and relationship with Will. He clearly cared about Will's well-being and wanted to keep in touch with his son even when he was going to leave. Opposite of one of the biggest scenes in TV history.
How come you don't want me, man?
What his character brought to the show was the struggle of a convict trying to go straight after being locked up and working on becoming a better father while fighting his own demons. Still having his encounters with Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv like the original, but there was a lot of accountability in this one. It also showed two black men with different journeys can work past their differences and disagreements for a common goal or even a bigger picture. I said all that because I think it's important that they represented with representation through different levels and ranges of black life for people in America. Through each character, they had their own struggles that I feel like we all could relate to, and it was there to enlighten those who never were aware of what some of us had to deal with in the dark. And the show still led by example for those who may be going through that right now while keeping us entertained. That's a tough balance. You gotta remember, as a comedy in the 90s, when In Living Color was wildin' and Mad TV was acting a fool, stereotypes were the base of a lot of jokes, and they weren't really focused on expanding to other characters as much. But this series was serious about a lot of differences between people that were made fun of in the past. They talked about it in depth a lot more from different perspectives throughout a season or even the entire series. Not only because it's the right thing to do to help people and be more relatable. It's a dramatic show. You need drama. And honestly, I feel like everybody fell into their character a lot more in the last season. Everybody showed up in the clutch more than the first three. I felt Jabari shined the brightest in the last season. Doesn't mean the other series weren't good and nobody else was doing their job. I'm just saying they looked a lot more comfortable and very settled in their characters. This show was about uplifting, positive imagery, and finding a way to get through the struggles of being black with a rich family that goes to private schools and has prestige careers. It's different. Did I like it? Yeah, I did. I just might be biased. I don't necessarily know if you need to love The Fresh Prince to appreciate Bel-Air, but I did. Because look, if you know me, I was the biggest Will Smith fan growing up, and it was mainly because of The Fresh Prince. And I enjoyed watching a show that was so epic in the 90s turn into a different genre on TV in today's times. It was 30 years ago, and they kept the same storylines. Now, they may have changed a few, but they put details on more and had a lot of dope-ass cameos, just like the Fresh Prince. This time, they didn't make the show all about Will because Fresh Prince was famous before the show in the 90s. But they made it about everyone all together, and Will was just the main character, if that makes sense. Out of all the remakes that I've seen, from shows to movies, from entertainment, I'm just really proud of this one because they brought it all the way back around and used every bit of what was important to us from the Fresh Prince and still didn't feel like they forced anything while creating their own lane with the same car, just a newer model. I'm not sure if I know of another comedy show that was remade into a drama, let alone successfully. But I will say this, no other show on Peacock has made it to 4 seasons. They did it with their own spin, the dramatic remix